I'm Johnny Smith.
I'm Richard Porter.
And this is Smith and Sniff, a podcast in which two friends talk about cars and many other things. I had a proper cash-only situation yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember? I'm going to use the term back in the day because I think it's probably relevant.
Yep.
Do you remember back in the day when you used to buy petrol with cash?
Yes.
And you'd only put, say, a tenner in the car because you just had a tenner on you.
Yeah.
Which makes it all sound like a completely ancient situation. But so
yes, you might as well be describing how you exchanged some shiny pebbles for a couple of seeds or something.
Exactly. I bought a sheep with a pile of logs.
Rode into town on my mule.
Yeah.
Because I needed to swap some leaves for a cauliflower.
Well, so I've done a lot of motorway work this week in the little Honda Insight, and I do get a lot of joy from wringing out as much as I can from one tank. And I think one tank of fuel is 35 litres, is a small tank in that car. So when the fuel light came on, I was about 25 miles away from home, coming back from a long drive. I just thought, that's fine. I can get home. I just need to get to bed. Next morning, woke up, got in the car and started driving to work, and realising I'd suddenly left it with dregs to the point where even the fuel light was sort of like doing things I'd never seen it do. It was sort of coming on and off as if to go, listen, there's no more bars on the digital dash fuel tank. You've got no fuel in this. So I hammered round. I didn't hammer, actually. I did proper sort of short changing round to the local fuel station, rolled in. And just as I picked the pump up from the holster, I saw, sorry for the inconvenience, cash only today on all of the... And I was like, shite, I haven't got any cash. And I can't really drive around looking for other fuel stations. I'm in a bit of a pickle here. And I was also running late, typical. So... Do you know what I did?
I can't imagine.
I dropped to my knees, Richard. The diesely forecourt. I dropped to my knees and I searched under the seats and I found £1. And then I found £1.05. And then I went, well, that's not... I don't even think you can put £1 in anymore. I don't know.
No, because it's minimum delivery, isn't it? Was it the minimum delivery... How many litres now?
It's
Two?
probably
3?
something like, I bet it is. So I was like, right, shit, still not enough. Then I realised I'd not long got back from holiday, and when I went through the pat down at the airport, I had some money in my pocket and thought, well, I'm on my way to the States. Well, have I got sterling in my pocket? I don't need that for the next 10 days. I'll stick it in a secret compartment in my rucksack. Couldn't remember which compartment it was. But then I rifled through my rucksack, which took another 5 minutes. This is all sounding partridge, I know. And then I found a £5 note and a £2 coin. And I thought, brilliant, 5, 6, 7, 8 £8 and 5 pence worth of fuel. And I put it in, which is actually a lot on the Honda. It's quite a lot on the gauge. It's over quarter.
Now, wait a sec. Did you try and put exactly £8 and 5 pence worth of fuel in?
Yeah, I did. And it was bloody hard.
Yeah.
It was really
That's quite
hard.
a high-risk strategy. What if it had gone to like £8 and 7p and you'd had to ask the garage person for an IOU for 2p?
I was so euphoric after finding all this hidden cash. I just thought I'd chance it. But also they're a local station and they see me a lot.
Yeah,
and I presume if I'm 6 pence over, they're not going to do me over or take the car hostage. So I just thought, what the hell? And went in there and paid for cash. And I said to them, God, that was really stressful. That was more anxiety inducing than any EV charging scenario I've ever had. And they went, yeah, we've had 4 power cuts in the last hour and it's completely melted our card machines. They just won't boot up anymore. They're just dead. I said, 4 power cuts? What the hell? He went, yeah. He actually said, he paused and then he said, to be fair, the garden centre next door's had the same. And I thought, I don't know. I mean, you didn't need to be fair, but also the garden centre's not as important right now as the fuel station. So,
well, I mean, say that, but what if you needed to buy some overpriced greetings cards, a small selection of hardback books, and
Blood and bones,
and a bag of mulch? Then you'd have been up the creek. Unless, like you'd been able to scuff about and find some coins. You do still see it in petrol stations, though, don't you? Because I'm quite admiring of the sort of fast-paced, haven't got time to stop, I'm too important and busy for this kind of bloke, and it's usually a bloke, who just comes into the petrol station and in one smooth move goes, "Number 3, yeah," and chucks a 20 quid note across the counter, and then they're gone.
Yeah.
And you still see it, and I kind of go, nice work there, my friend.
Yeah.
You're not hanging around. Like, at no point do they stop moving.
So if we were going to do like a Cannonball Run remake, where obviously fuel stops are few and far between and they have to be damn quick,
yeah,
we'd go in with the cash. But if there was a queue and you didn't want to look like you were being a bit dodgy, you'd have to add a bit more on as a tip, wouldn't you? So you'd have, I don't know, £23. And you'd say, it's 20 quid on pump 4. They go, pal, and you slap it right down in front of them, interrupting their interaction with the other people who they were serving. And they'd spy the 3 quid and go, yeah, no problem. Off we go. Don't you think?
That's for you.
That's
Treat yourself something nice.
Go out west. Treat your missus nice.
When cash payments for petrol just seem to be a more normal thing, I once, in my job at old Top Gear, there was one of my colleagues who was absolutely notorious for running press cars down to fumes. He'd elevated it to such an art form that he famously once said, because what he'd do is he'd go, "Oh, does anyone want to take this, whatever car it would be? Anyone want to take this Lexus home for the night? Anyone want to take this Jag?" And people would go, "Oh yeah, I'll do." And you'd fall for it, and then you'd go, "Oh wait, he's driven it till it's run out of petrol, and then he's just giving it to somebody else because he's too tight to put fuel in."
Oh, was he a notorious fuel light warrior?
Absolute, just beyond. He was a sort of an artisan at it, but
fuel light artisan,
or just an arsehole. So he famously once, the car park at Pebble Mill was behind the building, so there was a long access road that ran the depth of the building to get you back to the road. And he once gave a colleague the keys to a Volvo V70, and it didn't have enough fuel in it to make it up the access road to the street outside.
Before
it conked out.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not going to name this man, although I feel like I should to punish him for his crimes. But he once said, "Hey, do you want to take this Peugeot home?" And I went, "Yeah, okay, yeah, thanks." Thinking, "Oh, hello. I've heard enough about what goes on here." Sure enough, it's Peugeot 206. Fuel light was on, the needle was wrapped around the stop. There was at that point a petrol station just around the corner from the office.
Yeah.
So I went there, but he'd also told me when he gave me the keys, he went, "That car's being picked up tomorrow, but take it home for the night if you want." So I thought, I'm not going to sluice loads of fuel into it since I've just used it to get home, and this guy has presumably had 6 days of driving everywhere in second, burning off all the fuel for fun. So I put as little petrol as I could in. I think it was like 3 or 4 quid, maybe not even that, because this was the late 90s. It might have even been a couple of quid or something, and then pushed £2 coins across the counter. "Oh yeah, pump 4 please." Pushed to get, and the bloke behind the counter actually went, "Last of the big spenders." And I very indignantly went, "It's not my car," and stomped off.
Last of the big spenders. I love that. It's a genuine stress, and I'm sure listeners have experienced similar. But it really threw me back to back in the day, which is why I thought I'd open with that one.
Talking, as you sort of were, about being a bit partridge, thank you to everybody who listened to the show before last, when it was me on my own, trudging around, trying to find the secret new Jaguar prototypes, and a lot of people went, it sounded like a deranged episode of Alan Partridge's From the Oast House. There are quite a few people. This is heartening because it's me wanging on about how I was always obsessed with spy photos when I was a kid, and even beyond that. And I always thought it was very exciting to be a spy photographer, even though, as I've discovered, it's quite boring and you don't really see a lot. Lots of people got in touch just to go, I was obsessed with spy photos when I was a kid. So it's very heartening to hear I'm not completely strange, or that I am, but other people are too. I wanted to read out an email, though, from a listener who, for the purposes of this, is calling himself Ian Conkers, although that's not his real name.
Right. Okay. Ian
He says,
Conkers.
Having listened to the recent podcast by Richard, it sparked my distant memories of working for a large UK automotive supplier in the late 80s and early 90s. I used to visit Gaydon as we were a supplier on Project Adder that became the MGR V8, and I would go into the product development workshop known as Building 118, which used to house V-bombers.
Oh, wow.
On the notice board, there were A4 sheets pinned up with pictures, details and names of known spy photographers, done in a very Rover 1980s way, if you know what I mean, i.e. a bit shit. I'm not convinced security was that high on any of the engineers' minds, as I remember pushing Rover coupes, the Tomcats, out of the way of a ramp we needed to use, none of which were in camouflage and were years from being launched. But this was the days before mobile phones, let alone camera phones. One of the facts that stuck in my mind from the A4 sheet on the notice board was that one of the spy photographers drove a BMW with the registration plate, from memory, SPY4Y. It definitely featured the letters spy. One of my many visits to the Millbrook Proving Ground in support of the original Vauxhall Frontera project, I came off the M1 to find myself following a BMW with the SPY4Y number plate. Upon arriving at Millbrook, I immediately reported the fact that a spy photographer was most likely hiding out somewhere in the surrounding woodland. Immediately, all vehicles were pulled from the proving ground, including a new Saab model performing high-speed durability on the bowl. I can't remember which one, as let's face it, all Saabs look very similar. The Millbrook security team set off to find the whereabouts of the spy. Apparently, they didn't find him, but did find his car partially hidden in a wooden area. I was told that mysteriously all four of the BMW's tyres suddenly became deflated, although I cannot confirm this fact.
Oh!
What I can't understand to this day is why a car spy photographer would have a distinctive spy registration plate attached to a BMW 5 Series, as his income depended on obtaining spy shots. Surely an anonymous rental car would have been more suitable.
Well, yeah, I mean, although the world's most famous spy, James Bond,
yes,
famously makes no effort to drive around in a stealth way because drives around in an Aston Martin. So
I've just written an Evo column about this, about what an absolute idiot he is, because he's constantly turning up in a very attention-grabbing sports car. He introduces himself using his own name.
Yeah, what a
and he's
fluke.
always getting pissed on the job as well.
yeah,
he's useless.
He is useless, and also easily led by ladies.
Yes.
So actually, Bond is a complete wand.
James Wand. The world's shittest spy.
Yeah.
No, he is. He's crap. I don't think it's said enough that James Bond is very bad at being a spy, if we're honest. But
Well, also, they say, I mean, being given the responsibility to gamble in high-profile illegal games involving possibly governmental money. But, of course, he has, I don't know, 8 inches of gin before that? And you go, well, I probably wouldn't have done that. I would have gone in with a level head, James. Just saying.
Yeah. I mean, not my place to comment on being a spy, but it does strike me you're not a very good one.
No. James Wand, the suave but useless spy. Yeah, don't know if the books would have had the same gravitas, but maybe they would have done. Maybe that's what we should do. We should rewrite them slightly different so we don't get chased and burnt by the Broccoli family. But it would be James Wand. And also the
No.
number plate of his car would say Spy, just in case.
Yes.
The fact it's an Aston
Exactly. I mean, he might as well have Bond 1 on the number plate, or British Intelligence 5 or something like that, or just 007, because they seem to all know that's his code name.
Exactly.
Because he keeps telling people.
Mr. Bond, 007, British Secret Service. Actually, you're right about several of those things, but I'm actually called James Wand, just so you know. Yeah. So everything else is correct, but the Bond.
No.
Yeah, I'm not Bond
Go
anymore.
on, Google me. You can't. So anyway, well, that's thank you to the mysterious Mr. Conkers for that reminiscence. Someone else sent something in as well, and now I can't flipping find it.
Mr. Conkers. That's just,
Mr. Conkers.
That's reminded me of Jason Plato's dog. It's called Mr. Pickles.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, his dog's called Mr. Pickles, and I've been bitten by it once. Yeah, it's an absolute bastard. It didn't like me. I was filming a Panamera with him once, and it bit me. Anyway, I know what I was going to ask you, Rich.
Yes.
Ask me what I'm wearing.
Johnny, what are you wearing?
Oh, you want to know what I'm wearing, Rich? I'm wearing an incredibly comfortable, and I'm going to say high quality, hoodie, which is finished in black, and it's got the design of a Honda Prelude 2.2 imagery on front and rear. And
Goodness me.
I think this might be my new favourite garment. Possibly.
They're very comfortable, aren't they? And I'm not just saying this because they're ours and we're selling them.
No, of course not.
It's a good hoodie.
It is a very good hoodie, and going into the climate that we're going to experience in the UK, I feel like a hoodie always, especially for someone like me who has not a great deal of hair on the top end, it's perfect. Bloody love it. I'm also, because of the top end, I'm actually wearing a matching cap which says 2.2 on it. Believe.
Are you?
Yeah, I am, and that makes me look cool because I've got matching garmentry. Is garmentry a word? I don't actually know if it is.
Let's say that it is, yeah.
In the same way that it's not used as much like pageantry. I do love pageantry, and we've talked about our love for the word banditry before, because that's not used as much.
No.
I consider being a bandit, so I could use that term more often. But again, a bit like James Bond, I probably wouldn't introduce myself as being a bandit, because that gives the game away a little bit. What game are you in then, Johnny, at a parents' evening? Banditry, mostly banditry.
Banditry, yeah. If you're a bandit,
Yeah.
you would also get, I think, or be entitled to use another thing that's one of my favourite words, bandolier.
Oh, very, very good. Yeah.
Don't really get a lot of bandoliers these days, do you?
I don't know what the calling is for them.
No.
And
Though, as I say it out loud, I realise that it wouldn't be a bad car name. Perhaps the Ineos Bandolier could be a follow-up model to the Grenadier.
oh, that would be really good. And Sir Jim, who's decided that he can't be bothered to make any more high-up off-road vehicles, goes for something exceedingly low-slung and two-door, and it's called the Bandolier. Oh, I know what it could be. He's seen the Aerial Nomad, and he's seen that off-roady Morgan, which is a lovely thing, and he's gone,
Yes.
I reckon I can turn my hand to this. And so, the Bandolier is born. I'm
like a
seeing
sort
it in my
of-
head now.
Yeah, I know what you mean, yes. Oh, well, there you go.
And Bowler are meanwhile going, hang on a minute, this is our game, Jim. And Jim's going, hold my beer. By
Yes.
the way, the beer was bought from a pub called the Grenadier, just in case you needed to know.
Oh, sorry, I knew there was another email I wanted to read out in reference to the podcast from a couple of weeks ago. It's from a listener who didn't want to be identified, but who sent us a great story about, because I said I read somewhere that Jaguar Land Rover's Gaydon test track, because it was originally an RAF base and it has a very long runway, was one of the places designated as an emergency landing site for Concorde when it was being tested. This listener, who can't be named, wrote in to say that they work for Rolls-Royce on the aerospace side of things. And Rolls-Royce has a facility in Hucknall, basically in Nottingham.
Yeah.
Which is where, amongst other things, they developed... Do you ever see that thing that they called it the Flying Bedstead? It was basically just sort of a test rig for vertical takeoff stuff. And so it was kind of the precursor to what became the Harrier. Oh. That was all done at Hucknall, apparently. But the reason the anonymous listener draws my attention to the Hucknall facility is because that too had a very long runway. And so it was decided it was going to be an emergency landing spot for Concorde. And so Rolls-Royce were obliged to keep the runway in working order, which apparently was incredibly expensive and had no benefit to their business because they didn't use it anymore.
Oh, gosh.
But then they need to build a new static engine test facility within their development there. And mysteriously, they decided that the middle of the runway was the best place to build it. Even though it's quite far from the rest of the buildings. But they went, oh yeah, we need to build a test bed there, so really sorry, we're going to have to close the runway and not maintain it anymore. Soz. And that's what they did.
Oh my gosh.
And the listener sent me a picture, there's like an aerial photo of it, and sure enough, there's this great runway, and it's just got this building sort of plonked on one side of it. It's so very obviously just there, so they go, oh no, the runway's all spoiled now, we better stop maintaining
That's
it.
Ridiculous.
I know. It's amazing.
This is probably not a very audio-friendly letter, but this is from a chap called Alpaca Bill. I'm not totally convinced that's his real name.
No.
But he said, because talking of bandoliers just reminded me, he said, the backstory behind these pictures is too lengthy for my tolerance of typing. Straight to the point, Bill. But it just so happens that I delivered a Mitsubishi L200 loaded full of nappies and Calpol to Odessa in Ukraine a day or two ago. Check out the sticker in front of the rear view mirror. It really is what you think it might be. And I've zoomed in where there's Ukrainian troops. And I think the Mitsubishi the three diamonds on the bonnet, on the front grille, has been repainted in Ukrainian colours, which actually looks really cool. Yeah. And there is indeed a Smith and Sniff sticker adorning this aid-delivering Mitsubishi Warrior L200 thing. And that's very, very, very cool.
I think that's just fantastic.
He's put, so let me know if you get any new Patreons from Odessa. Well, I've been to Odessa a long time ago. I don't expect anyone from Ukraine. Yeah, it was a beautiful place. Yes, I have. I presented a video wearing a hotel dressing gown, but the place is gorgeous. But we don't want anyone from the Ukraine to become a patron of ours because I think you've got far bigger fish to fry. And Bill, well done for delivering all of those necessary supplies. He's a sweet guy. He calls us SSGs. Yeah. He's the sweet guy.
That's absolutely brilliant.
And actually, while we're talking about it, when the Ukrainian conflict kicked off, there was that news piece on that guy out there with an Audi, a Quattro Audi saloon. I think it was an Audi 80 saloon Quattro aero shape, who was using it to pretty much try and outrun enemy troops, transporting like women and children to a safer place.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if you read about it.
There's a few of these people doing stuff like that. Yeah,
and this car was like a
BBC documentary about a British guy doing it.
Yeah, this poor car, which was his pride and joy prior to the conflict, he turned it into this warhorse of a car. It was truly battered because it had been driven on dirt roads flat out to try and evade being shot at. And I'd really like to know if the car still exists, and obviously the driver. Because I feel like it needs to be celebrated, or maybe we could try and get some parts sent out to him.
Yes.
To keep it alive.
How could we help? Well, parts. Play to your strengths. We probably know people who can help.
I think we know people.
If you need bits.
So if that Audi 80 needs some bits and bobs, it'd be great to try and send some out. But I was going to talk about something a lot less serious and possibly a lot less interesting, which was the fact that when I was in America, I forgot to tell you about my charity shop visit, my spooky charity shop visit.
Did you, as Americans say, go thrifting?
we went thrifting because my daughter, who obviously consumes a lot of social media, went, can we go to some thrift shops?
Yes.
So we'd been swimming with the manatees that morning, and on the way back...
Lovely family. They're from Shrewsbury.
We've been... yes.
Steve and Helen Manatee.
Do you know what?
We're going swimming this morning. Would you like to come? Yes.
Keith Manatee was definitely wearing trunks that were far too brief. But anyway, we glossed over that and we carried on enjoying the experience. But we found... I went online and we went through loads of strange little towns, and we pulled in and found some thrift shops. And Kitty May was enjoying these thrift shops. We went into one, and next door was a medical cannabis type shop, and on the other side it was a nail bar, and it was in quite a quiet little roadside car parky kind of area. And we went into this one, which was a church, a Christian church thrift shop, charity shop. Went in. There was air conditioning on, so I thought, well, okay. It was bloody freezing in there. Started looking around, and Kitty May picked up a few things. She went, oh my gosh, this is great, and it's really cheap. I went, oh, cool, okay. And then I realised that nobody was in there. Nobody was looking after the shop, and I actually presumed they'd gone out the back and either fallen asleep, they were in the toilet, whatever. But 25 minutes went by, and meanwhile she's got 4 things over her arm going, I'm definitely buying these. These are like, $3 each. They're great. But there's nobody around. And then I realised that, oh shit, maybe somebody's actually had a situation. I hope somebody hasn't dropped dead or passed out in the back room and we're just in here. It suddenly got a bit creepy for me. And it was a few days before Halloween, and we'd just been driving around some suburban areas because my son loves looking at animatronic things. And you know, it's true. And so he was going, can we drive down this cul-de-sac? I'm like, well, okay. So we went down there looking for creepy, animatronic zombies on people's front lawns and inflatable ghosts. And it was fun. So we did, well, it was what you do on holiday, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we were in this church shop, thrift shop, and I just was like, right, well, we can't buy anything if there's nobody there to sell it to us. I started to get a bit like, do we just leave an IOU on it? There was a pile of Post-its at the till with a pen, and I thought, should I just write? In fact, I did. I wrote, this is my name. Here's the registration of the car that we've driven here in. I don't actually have any cash, but I'd like to buy these. I've got a card, but there's nobody here. Here's my email address and here's my UK phone number. And then as we were leaving, I was thinking, we might be on CCTV, and before you know it, we might get chased and shot for stealing 3 charity shop garments. So I went next door to the medical cannabis shop, walked in and nearly fell over because it absolutely reeked in there. And a very kind lady, I explained the situation. She went, oh, that's odd. I don't know them, but she phoned the number that she had on the door and spoke to somebody. And it turns out, this is great, about a minute after she hung up, this very polite middle-aged lady who was extremely well-dressed screeched into the car park in a brand new Honda CR-V and was so apologetic to me. And she said, I said, look, she said, I'm so sorry there's nobody there. She said, I went to open the shop this morning and the key snapped off in the lock, which meant I couldn't lock it when I finished my shift this afternoon. And she looked at me and then she went, I just didn't think anyone would bother coming, so I just left it open. And I went, right, okay. I said, well, we would really like to buy these things, $9 worth of things. And she went, oh, just have them. She said, it's just too much hassle. And I went, but you're a charity shop. And it all got really confusing.
Oh, just have them?
She just said, oh, just have them. So I said, well, look, I don't have cash on me. We're flying home tomorrow. But I'll pay, I'll take the details of the church and I'll PayPal you some money. And so she said, oh, no, just don't bother, it's fine. And then she said, oh, anyway, I've got to get back to home because I don't know, I've got go and get the dogs or something. So she just went off, and that was that. But we got in the car with these things and just all giggled, thinking this is the most strange situation, because they couldn't lock the charity shop, so they just left it. Of course, with the air conditioning on, very important. And
yeah, of course.
So
they're not animals.
No, quite.
I like the way that you left your car registration as if that sort of proved your legitimacy.
Well, I thought if there's CCTV on the cannabis shop or the nail bar or the car park in general, they're going to clock guy and two kids go in, guy and two kids come out with clothes over arm, looking around, looking a bit shifty, frankly. I just thought I'd belt and braces it, you know? Just thought I'd belt and braces it.
It's thrifting is big news in America, isn't it? Well, I mean, I suppose it is
great
here amongst younger people. Like, apart from the sort of the bargains that to be had, it's also the fact that it feels like you're being environmentally considerate because you're reusing rather than buying new
and upcycling.
When my wife's niece, who is 21, came over from the US last summer, she went to every single charity shop in Bath. Without exception, it was basically all she did. Yeah,
really?
There's an Abbey and a Spa and Shizzle, but yeah, show me more charity shops. Yeah, she was all over that stuff.
This is heartwarming stuff. This is really heartwarming.
Oh my gosh! No, wait, stop. Speaking of Bath,
what?
I forgot to tell you. You know that motorcyclist that terrorises me at 5 to 6 in the morning?
I don't know if you
with
have.
His stupid,
Richard.
farty bike that wakes me up.
Guffy.
I finally managed to get a recording. You know, I said I'm going to try and record it so I can share it with podcast listeners so they know what I'm on about.
Yeah.
The other morning, I was already awake, and this recording doesn't quite do justice to the fact you can hear this fucker coming from miles away. So I was half awake and I was like, I can hear it. You know when like a sneeze is just a distant tickle up the top of your nose and you're like, I think I'm going to sneeze.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm going to sneeze. It's like that. I was like, the distant sound. I was like, he's coming. He's bloody coming. I looked at the clock. I was like, yes, it's him. So I grabbed my phone really quickly and got the recorder open. And I recorded this. Fuck's sake. That is the two-stroke terrorist that ruins my mornings.
I love the fact the muttering at the end says it all for me. It's like, I have had months of this. I can't take it anymore.
I'm not sure the recording is fully capturing the fact that I'm not standing by the road as that thing goes by. I'm in my bed in my house.
Oh, that was from
behind
in bed.
Glass and brick. Yeah, I was lying in bed.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at your misfortune. I think standing at the side of the road, and you know when the police throw a stinger out?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying you should do that. I'm saying you should be better than that. And you need to get a net gun.
Yes, just a good old-fashioned stick in the spokes.
You could do
Problem
that.
Solved.
Yeah, like a very large, cheap screwdriver that you don't really use for anything, and just throw
I've got one of those, yeah.
Yeah, you use it for opening tins of paint usually. And
I was just about to say, it's the paint screwdriver.
Yes,
everybody's got a paint screwdriver, haven't they?
My dad's got the largest paint screwdriver, and it's got a slight bow in it, a slight bend in it from where he's prized open an absolutely massive tub of something. And it's been in the family for years. It's got so many different types of paint on its shaft. It's ridiculous. Anyway.
Good. Well, there we go. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that because it seemed relevant in some way or other.
Did I tell you about the weighty lanyard on the Renault 5 launch? I know I mentioned the Renault 5. I wrote down in capital letters to mention this weeks ago, and I must have totally forgotten because I'm an idiot. So when you go on a launch of a new car, you often get a name badge, and it can be on a lanyard with manufacturer name or the car name on it, whatever. Some of them are really good, and some of them are the cack. The Renault 5 launch lanyard is so well crafted and beautiful.
Oh,
but the weight of the clasp It's metal.
Oh, right.
I picked it up and went, that's like a half kilo lanyard, that is. That's a half kilo lanyard. It was very impressive with rubberized, the new Renault Diamond. We've talked about it. It has the new Renault Diamond in it, in rubberized, raised. It's really good. It's really good quality bit of kit. But the juxtaposition behind the weighty lanyard and the cutlery that they gave us during the sort of lunch stop, it was a super leggera lunch, really, because it was all in small ramekin bowls and things.
Right, yeah.
They were handing out forks to eat it with. These were metal forks. I know this is starting to sound partridge again. These were metal forks, okay, but I picked one up and nearly didn't believe that I was holding anything. I had to go and pick another one up just to compare.
What?
It was so light and the metal was so thin. It wasn't tin foil, because obviously that wouldn't have worked. But so it was a real fork, but it was about 2 inches long. Like an olive. Think for an olive, eating an olive.
Oh, okay.
But I had to eat a whole lunch with it. And it was...
Is it possible that the people who make Martin Brundle's necklace have gone into the cutlery business?
Oh, that's exactly...
Experts in super thin metal.
That's exactly what it is. The Brundle necklace cutlery set is definitely a thing. It's the same. You've nailed it. It's completely the same. The Superleggera lunch fork. It was so light. An empty packet of Watsits would have weighed less, more. It was just amazing. Couldn't believe it. So
wow.
And the whole time I was just constantly comparing the weight of the lanyard with the lunch fork, and that's why I've got friends. Did you
that's
know,
great.
Did you know that Ghostbusters and Miami Vice are 40 this year?
Oh, God. Yes, they are, aren't they?
Because I got fed Don Johnson's Instagram last week, and he put a little montage of moments from Miami Vice on there, which is, of course, very cool. And he put, can't believe it was 40 years ago, and a little blurb. And I'd already heard about Ghostbusters being 40 this year. And whilst I was in Orlando, I went to Museum Dieselland. Don't know if you've heard of Dieselland, but this museum. No. It's a private car museum. So it's all these cars, nearly 1,000 vehicles, are owned by one man, Michael. I think he's called Michael Deezer, Dezer, or Dezer.
Yeah.
And I went to Dieselland because I'd heard about it and been told it's pretty cool. And I think you and the listener would really enjoy it. It's a varied car collection and motorbike. He loves his scooters, Lambrettas and Vespas. And I went around this place and really enjoyed it. But in the museum, there's a movie section. And in the movie section, sure enough, there is an Ecto 1 from Ghostbusters. And there is a I don't think it's one of the actual ones, but it could be the fake Ferrari Daytona kit.
Wow.
A black Corvette-based Daytona used in the first and maybe half the second series of Miami Vice.
Yeah.
And it was parked next to the Magnum Ferrari and numerous other things. But yeah, so I was like, bloody hell, 40 years since Ghostbusters. And it's still cool. We've not long had Halloween, and it's still a Halloween favourite, Ghostbusters, I think. But it's friendly Halloween, it's not too gory and horrible. That's why I like it.
Well, funnily enough, because I missed the trick here, because over Halloween, my daughter asked if we could watch Ghostbusters. She's somehow become aware of it, but she's never seen it. Now she's 7. And I was like, actually, yeah, should be all right watching Ghostbusters. It's not that scary, is it? There's a couple of moments that are a bit, but they're not. When Slimer suddenly comes for them.
That's right.
And shows his teeth.
Yeah.
Was he called Slimer in those movies, though? I think it was that name was sort of retrospectively applied because of the cartoon Ghostbusters. Is that right?
No, I think it was called Slimer.
Yeah, but otherwise it's not scary. And then I don't know why, but we didn't get a chance to watch it. Maybe we'll watch it next weekend or something. But because I haven't watched Ghostbusters for a while. And you're right, 40 years, flipping out.
Yeah, you've got to learn to watch it. You've got to do it.
Can I just spoil the mood by talking about cars for a minute?
No, I don't know. About that.
Well, let's just try this on for size. It's just because it's something that slightly perplexed me. I don't know if you saw this last week or the week before. Audi announced not only a new car for China.
Oh yeah,
but a new sub-brand for China.
Yes,
and Audi's new sub-brand for China is Audi, but written in capital letters.
Yeah, what's with this?
It's confusing. Now, the thing is, because it's a rather generic looking car they've announced. I think it's officially a concept. It's called the E-Concept, and it's a sort of generic electric kind of. Well, I suppose it's sort of an estate almost, really. It's not very tall. It doesn't look very tall. I'm sure it is because it's probably got a battery pack in the floor. But it doesn't have the Audi 4 Rings logo on it. But it does just say Audi in letters at the front and the back.
But not like the old Audi letters.
No.
Okay.
No. And it's like you go, hang on a sec. Hasn't Audi got, and has spent years building up, one of the world's most distinctive and instantly identifiable logos?
Yeah.
Why have they thrown it in the bin for this new sub-brand if they're still going to call it Audi, but just in capital letters?
Yeah, bearing in mind, you've got Infiniti, who have been trying to break into Europe for goodness knows how long, Genesis, who have been trying to do that, and I don't know, I mean, I guess Lexus did it a long time ago. Why? They're owned by different companies, but trying to stand on their own 2 feet. DS are doing it unsuccessfully, and probably quite a few are doing it unsuccessfully. So I don't think Audi needs to do it. And the good thing about the 4 Rings is that it's nice and symmetrical, and it's very easy to spot. This makes I don't understand, Rich. I don't understand it.
I was baffled by this, but I think there's actually a sort of explanation. They're saying, oh, this new Audi sub-brand. Sorry, do you mean Audi or Audi? No, Audi. Audi, not Audi, is meant to appeal to younger people, and that's why we've called it something different. We've called it Audi instead of Audi. And what the fucking hell are you talking about? But there is a little bit of politics behind this, because Audi in China, as in Audi, not Audi, is a partnership with FAW, a sort of older Chinese firm. That Western car makers who want to build cars in China have to partner with a local company.
That's right. Yeah.
Audi's longtime partner is FAW, and they've been working with them since the 90s, I think, possibly even the 80s. They build A4s, A5s, what have you, in China for the Chinese market. This new EV project, which has been developed in like mega quick time, is a joint venture with a different Chinese company, with SAIC.
Right, who own MG?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think part of it might be that possibly as part of the terms of the deal with FAW, they can't use the Audi badge. So actually what they're doing here is deliberately using the Audi name and going, no, it's not the same as Audi. Audi is different to Audi. Look, we've written it in capital letters. It doesn't have the badge on. This is an Audi, but not an Audi, because we're Audi and we make Audi and Audi now.
Oh,
and
my
it's
gosh.
It's a way of essentially selling Audis in a new joint venture with a different company without pissing off the old joint partner who they still need to make their other models. Is as far as I can know. It's not a definitive answer. That's just as far as I can work out.
Oh my gosh.
But it's deeply confusing on the surface of it. You go, right, you want an exciting new sub-brand. It'd be like as if Toyota went, right, we want a new luxury offshoot and we want it to do well in America, so we're going to call it Toyota, but in capital letters. You'd go, no, that doesn't work. It's the same name. You've just put it in capitals. But this seems as confusing as that, but it's not. There's a reason, I think.
Yeah. It's a bit like when George Michael and Prince were trying to get out of their contracts, and Prince ended up being called Purple Sign or Symbol or whatever it was.
Yes, and then he kept swanning around with slave written on his face, and I saw someone in a music magazine at the time going, did he mean to write shave? It's just a reminder every morning.
That's really weird that you said that, because I've actually was about to start talking about my latest shaving antics, because of course we're on a car-based podcast.
Yeah.
Do you remember when I used to relentlessly brush my teeth to Iron Maiden every day and night?
I do.
I've stopped doing that now. I haven't done it now for at least half a year. But this morning I decided that I missed it, but I'm not going to do it to my teeth. I'm going to watch Iron Maiden live whilst I'm shaving.
Okay.
So I propped the phone up in the in the bathroom shaving cabinet, and this morning I had an extremely energetic shave to Iron Maiden live in Rio 2011, I think it was.
Don't want to have an energetic shave. You'll slash your neck.
I think it's a really bad idea. I don't know how long I'm going to do this for, because shaving quickly, hurriedly, is just, like you say, a bad idea. But it reminded me of how much I missed Bruce Dickinson jumping very, very fast around, hopping around like an imp on stage.
like an imp.
But also...
well, the mythical creature rather than the small hillman.
Exactly. But the other thing it made me realise is the term Woolarding has been around a long time in the car world, certainly the British car world, because of William Woollard,
Absolutely.
the presenter. One leg up whilst talking, usually on a tyre or a bumper.
Yeah.
But of course, metaller frontman, or in this case of Iron Maiden, metaller bassist Steve Harris.
Yeah.
He makes a point of when he's doing some hard bass work, he will always move right up to the front of the stage and has one leg on one of the monitor speakers. And the monitor speakers for the Maiden are very tall, I noticed.
Oh.
Because they're a loud band.
Right.
So he has one leg really quite high up, sort of beyond the point of what would seem comfortable, I would say, whilst doing some bass work. And it made me think so metalers and William Woollard they've got a kinship here, which we hadn't predicted before.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I suppose by extension you're suggesting that at Iron Maiden gig they should welcome William Woollard on the stage.
Well, there's a thing. Imagine if roles were switched. Wouldn't it be great? In fact, if anyone's bored and is accomplished in the worlds of Photoshop, I always wonder whether it would be good. Wouldn't it be really good to just switch roles? So William Woollard is the front man in a known metal band, but wearing a wool suit, versus the bassist from Iron Maiden constantly being photographed next to average cars from the 80s. I think
I've just pulled up a picture of Iron Maiden performing live, and you're right. They're wedges, as I think they're called in the business. They do seem to be uncommonly big,
really big.
And so to put your foot on one of them, you really do have to. I mean, this would be like Woollard trying to get his foot onto like a Rolls Phantom wheel or something. They're really high. Well, why is that?
I don't know whether it's just general loudness or what, but Steve really goes for it. And it is like when I was in the States recently, and popping into a Ferrari dealership to let my son look around, he actually pointed. I was very proud while we were on the motorway, pointing out a Ferrari F40 in the showroom, but in the car park outside was one of those Merc G-Wagon, is it 6x6s?
Yeah.
Which is wider and taller significantly. In fact, we saw one in the Goodwood car park, didn't we, when we were doing our little Goodwood walk-round video?
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, that's a car I don't think you could Woollard that. Because you definitely split your trousers and you've got severe groinal damage.
That's groin strain in the making right there.
Huge groin strain. huge. So I don't think Harris could do that, or Woollard for that matter. But yeah, Harris does love the metaler Woollard stance.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, the intersection between William Woollard and metal that we always knew was there somehow.
Yeah.
We haven't mentioned for a while, but we do still get every so often messages about the phenomenon of the choady shifter, the sort of comically small gear lever.
Yeah.
I was walking the dog just this morning, and I walked past a Mazda CX5, a sort of medium-sized SUV crossover-y thing.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure it's a perfectly nice car, because Mazdas these days usually are. I've never driven one.
They're tasteful things.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? And I've never driven a CX5. I've never sort of felt the urge, but like I said, I'm sure it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's not the current gen, it's the previous one, and I really liked it. Again, it's always treading the tasteful path in its sector. They just get it right, I think, Mazda, so many times.
I just happened to sort of glance inside this CX5. I think my dog was sniffing a lamppost or something, so I had cause to stop. And I looked inside the CX5, and whoever was driving it had left it in gear. Very sensible thing to do in a hilly place like around where I live. So it was in first. The gear lever was incredibly choady.
Was it really?
Yeah, to the point where I got home, I was like, I'm going to look this up. So I looked up an interior shot of the CX5, and sure enough, it's not mega choady, but for a mainstream car, and particularly a sort of tall one, quite often, if anything, the manual gear stick in an SUV, they'll give it quite a wandy lever because it sort of fits the character of the car, sitting up high.
Yeah.
But no, I think they've gone, well, we want to remind people of the MX-5. And so it's got a very stubby shaft. And when clearly, as this person had, when you then move it across the gate, it if anything, it shrinks even more. Go and have a look. But yes, Mazda CX-5, possibly the chodiest shifter in mainstream production at the moment.
Well, let me counter that with an extremely impressive Cobra head. Because, of course, that's at the other end of the shifting scale, isn't it? You've got choady, then you've got the Cobra head. Saved only for the auto shifter, of course.
Of course.
So we actually had a letter from a chap called Kevin Perham. And Kevin says, hey guys, look, this is seriously the most literal Cobra-headed shifter I've ever used. I'm an American box truck driver, and my regular 2020 international truck was sidelined by refrigeration issues. I love that. So I was in a brand new sub-1,000 mile Freightliner, and this was the shifter that I was offered. I'm more accustomed to the T-handle shifter. It was also offered... It also offered a momentary switch on the steering wheel that blinked the headlights. Never seen this before in my 30-plus years of commercial driving. Wow. I recall a few pods ago the question to acknowledge a headlight flash, to acknowledge a clean pass. I tend to go with twice flash, 4 ways. Twice flash, 4... Oh, what? So flash the headlight and then indicate.
Wow.
I love the new wheel-mounted button to flash off the headlights, because looking back in the mirror and seeing a high beam flash is not optimal. Anyway, so Kevin, he's enclosed a picture, and although it's not glamorous, it's very sort of black and grey, cheap-looking plastic, if I'm totally honest. But from above, very much looks like the head of the Cobra. So I'm really impressed with this. We will put this up for our lovely patrons. But Kevin, thanks for listening and for pointing out what is a very good Cobra head. I don't know if we could beat that Cobra head, actually.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Just while you're here, have you been driving around in that smart #1?
I've been driving around in it for 24 hours. I've got it now for several weeks. So I've just started.
Several weeks?
Yeah, I'm greedy.
What? Okay.
I'm going to have it or I'm just literally not going to give it back for several weeks and just say, come and get it if you think you're hard enough, and see what happens.
I think you've got the exact car that I had. It's the bright yellow one that I stupidly tried to be a spy in, like James Wand.
Yeah, it is yellow. That's exactly,
how are you getting on with it?
Initial impressions, I actually like it. Although when you lock it, it makes a very loud chirping noise to the point where I'm worried about waking people up and annoying people. So I have to sit. And because it's a Chinese-based electric car, the number of settings and options within the screens and the different categories, the menus, is mind-blowing. Yeah. I've got to sit in the car for a good hour and a half and digest it all.
I was going to say, I don't remember it chirping when you locked it when I had it, so I think that's a setting. You just need to change it. It'll be fine.
Well, I haven't done that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just saying. I mean, I don't know, but it didn't when I had it, so I'm assuming it's just something you can turn off or on, because you're right, there's a lot of settings. I'll be honest, I thought that car was bloody awful. I found it deeply frustrating, and it's not particularly amazing to drive either way. It's not terrible, but it's not very good either. But the screens, Jesus Christ. I don't know if you've spent a lot of time faffing around with them, but the fact that when you use Apple CarPlay, and I assume it's the same for Android Auto, the heater controls disappear off the screen. And to turn the temperature up, I want to be 1 degree warmer. That would be, in a normal car with physical buttons, 1 tap, maybe 2 if it's got half increments. In even my Tesla, the temperature controls are on the screen, but they're there all the time. It's just 2 taps.
Like on a permanent lower
screen.
bar type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's sensible and logical.
Yeah.
But no, in that smart, you're using Google Maps through Apple CarPlay, or you're listening to podcasts or what have you. To make yourself warmer, you have to leave whatever you're doing, so go to the Apple main menu to find this button that takes you to the smart main menu, and when you do that, the heater controls reappear, and then you can tap to make yourself warmer. Absolutely shockingly shit design. I cannot believe how stupid it is. And there's other bits as well. Turning off the thing that jitters the steering wheel rim every time you go near a white line has to be done every time, and again, it's like a multi-swipe and scroll, and it's infuriating.
Well, can I report back on my?
Yes.
'Cause I've only done 20 miles in it so far.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to queer the pitch, because
don't you worry.
You may find things to like about it, but I had for a week and I just thought it was toss.
Well, you see, initially, something that I've observed on this smart #1, very modern title, incidentally, the steering wheel is akin to a sports car, I'd say, from the 1950s or 60s. Now, obviously made of plastic and other modern materials, but the way it's slightly dished and 3-spoke, I do rather like it, I have to say. But of course, the other issue I've just simply observed of its design is the fact that the roofline at the rear looks rather like a German military helmet. Have you seen this?
Oh, yeah.
Like the helmet of a German military gentleman. Or a tortoise, depending on whether you prefer German military men or tortoises. I've noticed this. I quite like the roofline at the back. It reminds me of a Vauxhall Adam, and this is my unpopular opinion. I always liked the Vauxhall Adam.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody seems to care about it. It's gone now. But I actually quite like the Adam. I think it was quite cool looking thing, and the different colorations and trim levels were cool. Whether or not it'll ever be a classic car, I simply don't know. But I'm quite down with the Adam. Is that okay?
No, I mean, yeah. I like that they tried something with the Adam.
Yeah,
it never quite worked for me as well as, like, if you imagine if they had free rein on the proportions, it would have looked different, but they had to sort of squidge it onto a Corsa platform, so the front wheels were a bit too far back for me, and there was this weird kind of detail. They'd had to, I think, sort of fudge the way that the A-pillar and the bonnet and the wings all met, and it looked a bit rubbish to me, but, you know, they were trying.
They were trying. They definitely showed effort and some level of flair to try and win over Fiat 500 people, but maybe it was a little bit late to the party, I don't know.
Right. Well, we should wrap this up, But before we go, I have 3 things to tell you. They are: 1, Johnny is engaged in a bizarre project to clone our favourite female singer 49 times and then make her and these replicants reenact a badly written erotic novel under the working title 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh, my gosh.
If that's not to your taste, then, of course, there's the Late Break Show on YouTube. What have you got coming up for us on there?
How do you think of these things? How do you think of them? That's so elaborate.
It's a constant struggle.
Amazing. 50 Shades of Grey.
What have we got coming up on the channel? Gosh, I just don't know. But it's but it's terrible promotion.
Excellent.
It's terrible promotion.
Yeah,
but
no, it's great. I admire your honesty.
Well,
though.
can people just go in and watch? Because we put a video out at least once a week, and we put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah.
So even though I've forgotten what it is,
Exactly.
it should be interesting.
Go and watch it, and then once you've watched the most recent one, go and watch some ones from the archive.
Yeah.
And
Could you do that?
And that's all that. Second thing I've got to tell you is, as we've mentioned recently, we have some live shows coming up. We are at the Mini Factory in Oxford next week, in fact.
28th.
On the 28th. So at the time of recording, there are still a few tickets available. And we'd love to see you there, if not in Beamish next month or in Eastbourne in February.
Yeah.
Go to smithandsniff.com for details. And the third thing I've got to say is in Ottersott week before last, we were discussing the bizarre idea of which county it would be best to perish in if you had to.
Such a terrible thing.
Slightly strange conversation. And you were talking about the many counties that come together in your part of the world. But did you know that just south of Stamford, there's a border between Lincolnshire and Northamptonshire, which is just 19 metres long.
What?
Yeah, supposedly the shortest county border in the country.
Wow. Can you give me the coordinates and I'll go and visit it today?
I know, I should do so. I don't know. I was alerted to this by one of our listeners who commented on YouTube. Their username is 1984ed101. So thank you, sir or madam, for that tip-off. There we go. That's quite enough of this. We will be back on Friday for an Ottersott and next Monday for a regular show. Thanks ever so much for listening. Goodbye.
Okay, listeners. Good to see you, even though I haven't seen you. Bye.
So you've enjoyed this podcast, but you've had a thought. Is there a way here today that you could show support? Well, you could join our Patreon, what wonders that it brings. Early shows and extra notes on that side of things. You could buy our merchandise, we've mugs and hats but still no ties. One day we will make those pies, but in the meantime, guys, hey guys, like and subscribe and maybe leave a nice review. Like and subscribe, we know you know just what to do. Like and subscribe, we don't want to take the piss. Like and subscribe, but we were told to ask for this. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Well, the fourth thing I was going to tell you, Richard, is how many times have you listened to that Marillion song that I keep making you listen to?
No. I'm like in rehab for that